Welcome to the Sports Goombahs, Fantasy Football Wednesday. I'm Cashier King. Join me with Mikey Wall as he will get you right with your fantasy team. Fantasy Wednesday is brought to you by Castle Public Adjusters, 215-752-1237. Check them out at castlepa.com. Now, without further ado, the main man with fantasy football information for you, Mikey the Wall.
Well, that was the longest intro I've heard all year. I guess we got to get the live in studio, and Cash, you got to get the voice out. Welcome, everybody. It's week 2 of the SG Fantasy Football Show, bringing you everything you need to know, positional rankings, waiver pickups, stardom, sit-em, some sleepers, some busts. I'm, of course, your host, Mikey the Wall. I'm joined yet again by my man, Pat.
I think my new name should be Patty the Roo, because after last week, I'm thinking I'm Guru Fantasy, starting out 3-0 in all my leagues, and or 1-0 in all 3 leagues, and made some bold predictions that seemed to come true last week.
Now, I tried. Unfortunately, the popular demand was to have you not be back
Really?
because of your picks. That's just. I get inundated, tweets, emails, everything, just saying, please stop telling this guy to come back. But I wasn't going to. I had no intentions of it. But then here goes Carson Palmer.
I know.
When you take Carson Palmer, it's your start of the week, and you back it up by physically actually starting him. I saw him in your lineup, and he scores 31 points. I can't not allow you to come back.
Yeah, I had a feeling I was cut, but Palmer backed me up. He stepped up and he
had your back.
A bomb on New Orleans last week.
So, with that, you are back. Congratulations. You better come with something strong again this week, or else we cut.
I got plenty more bold predictions this week for the people on Twitter, and hopefully people call in and rip me some more.
Please rip him. I beg you. Again, you can call us or text us 267-563-2893. You can always tweet us on Twitter, of course. That's what it would be. At Sports Goombahs. Any questions you have, we've got some throughout the week. We'll read off later in the show. Question, start them, sit them, anything you need. Who's the waiver wire pick? Who are the hot pickups? But before we get into anything, hopefully you guys are hearing us, by the way. As we remember last week, we had a little snafu. I'm praying that you can hear us. We're going to start with quarterbacks. Okay. Now, quarterbacks, last week, we kind of agreed on a lot of the top guys, and it was pretty easy. This week's not the same. I was looking at rankings elsewhere to compare them with mine, and a lot of people don't agree with me.
Really?
No, they don't. So I'll throw out mine.
I agree with you
Get the top 12 of the week. My number 1 starting quarterback this week is a guy I didn't even have ranked in the top 12 last week. It's Drew Brees.
Couldn't agree more.
He didn't have a great game. He did. He had a solid game because he got the yards because they were losing all game. But he's playing Tampa this week, and he's at home. And Drew Brees in his own home is a different Drew Brees. And some other matchups, that's his safest play. We saw what Mariota did to Tampa.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what a skilled veteran like Brees is going to do?
Mariota dropped 4 touchdowns
in the first half?
Yeah, that was
my number 2, I have Andrew Luck. Bounce back. He's at home this time. I don't think he's going to come out, lay an egg 2 weeks in a row. And he's playing the Jets. Jets are nothing special. Number 3, I have Tom Brady at Buffalo. When I was looking around, I saw other Yahoo and ESPN. They have him much lower than that. They had him in like 10, 11, 12 range. And like I said this before, and I'll say it again, this is the Tom Brady FU NFL tour. It's going to be 16, 17 weeks of him just saying FU to Goodell and the rest of the league. I don't care if he's playing Buffalo at Buffalo. It's a tough matchup, of course. We saw what they just did to Luck, but I think Brady's going to shine through. My number 4, I have Aaron Rodgers. He's at home, which is good, but he's playing Seattle, which is obviously not the best matchup, which is why he's 4 as opposed to being usually 1 or 2. But you say, obviously, you're starting Rodgers no matter what. My number 5, I got Eagles' own Sam Bradford.
Yeah, Sam Bradford didn't look too great last week in the first half.
First half. I'm hoping they just got their timing together. They're playing at home. They got Dallas. If you can't get fired up at home opener for Dallas, I think, is it Sunday Night Football this week?
I think we're at
4. Wow. What do I know?
Still national.
Yeah. Number 6, I have Matt Ryan. We saw him pick apart the Eagles, sadly, on Monday. He's playing the Giants. Again, not a great defense at all. So I do like Ryan as my number 6 quarterback. Number 7, Tony Romo. Romo's at, of course, the Eagles. And the Eagles secondary didn't look great against, with Des Bryant, obviously, we'll get to that. Des Bryant being here would obviously bump Romo up more, but losing him, I don't know how he's gonna play, how they're gonna be. It's a wild card, but I can still trust Romo for probably 300 plus, at least 2 touchdowns. My number 8, Big Ben. He's at home against San Francisco. Again, I'm still not a huge San Francisco fan, even though they won the game. But Big Ben, he's at home. He'll bounce back, and I trust him to have a good game. My number 9 is Ryan Tannehill. Kind of let me down, as did most Dolphins this week. But again, he gets Jacksonville, so he's going to get right back at it against another weak team. So I do like Tannehill to not as high as I had him last. I think last week I had him at number 5. So Tannehill number 9, I think is going to be a solid play. Number 10, Russell Wilson. He's at Green Bay. Not a huge Wilson guy. The matchup isn't that great, but he's still up there. At number 11, I have Peyton Manning finally checking in. He's playing at Kansas City. I believe it'll be tomorrow night. Kansas City's tough. We just saw what they did to Houston. Then again, Brian Hoyer is a little different than Peyton Manning, but Manning didn't look good against Baltimore.
No, Peyton a lot lower on your list this week.
You
want to tell us why? Or?
I mean, I pretty much just explained it. He looked like shit against Denver. I mean, against Baltimore, and this isn't the old Baltimore. This is new Baltimore, where you can put the points on. He was at home. He had everything going his way. I know a couple guys got banged up. C.J. Anderson got banged up, and Demaryius. It was just, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm scared. I mean, I've never thought I'd be scared to start Peyton Manning, and unfortunately, in one league, he's my only quarterback. So
I was thinking about that team for you, and I was wondering who was out there on the waiver wire because I think you should.
No, not in this league. This is a 24-man roster, 12-team league. There's like 3. It's like Manziel. I got Manziel out there. You want me to start Manziel? That's what I say. I'm gonna throw the ups and downs with Peyton Manning. When number 12, in honor of you, I did throw Carson Palmer in there. I mean, he's playing the Bears, so I mean, it's not like he's playing a great defense. So that's why it wasn't just a pity choice. But
do you think last week Carson was a fluke, or do you think he continues?
He's not going to score 31 points a week, and he's not going to be a top 3 quarterback every week. But hey, top 12, he's a starter.
Yeah,
I mean, so there you go. That's my top 12.
Okay. We have very similar to top 12. Let me preference this with saying last week I did say sit Andrew Luck. I did say sit.
He did say that. Another reason, actually, I meant to give you some props.
And I said sit Drew Brees. They were all outside of the top 10.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think Brees and Luck were at 11, 12.
I think Lee's, because I played against Luck, thankfully, in one league, and he had those garbage time. I think he had like 2 garbage time TDs, but he had like 4 points at halftime.
First half, 3 quarters, Andrew Luck looked terrible. I told you to watch out for that Buffalo defense. I know it's
got to give you props.
Predict these defenses going into week 1, but Buffalo's one of those guys. I want to avoid them. So going into this week, number 1, I have Drew Brees. Like I said, and had him outside the top 10 last week. He played decently.
Yeah, because of how bad when they were losing the whole game. He threw for like 360 or something like that, something crazy.
Game, but he got some good yards. And this week he's playing Tampa, like you said. Last week Mariota comes in, goes nuts on Tampa Bay. I mean, I don't think Mariota's that great, so I expect Drew Brees to do the same exact thing, if not worse. Number 2, I have Aaron Rodgers, a little higher than you against Seattle. Now, typically, see Seattle get worried. But
it's Rodgers. Rodgers, he overrides the defense.
Played a pretty good game last week. I mean, and what I seen from Nick Foles against Seattle last week really impressed me. He went deep on Seattle, and he put up fantasy points. That was unexpected. So I don't think Rodgers won't do the same.
How about
thing.
that? When Foles, I think it was like the I think it was fourth quarter when he drops back, and Kerry Williams of all people. The sack, fumble, recovery, touchdown. That
was more than Kerry Williams did all last year.
Yeah, that's a nice ex-Eagle and ex-Eagle crime. I like that.
Okay, so number 3, I have Big Ben against San Francisco. I was thinking about dropping Ben down this week, considering the matchup. San Francisco.
He's at home.
They look good against the Vikings, but
it's the Vikings. Yeah, I mean, they were let down. A lot of people had a Vikings.
I think that game. Big Ben is going to try to get a victory under his belt. Starting out 0-1 against the Patriots, so I think he'll have a pretty good game. Number 4, I have Matt Ryan against New York Giants. That Giants secondary got destroyed by Romo. They fell apart in the fourth quarter. I think Matt Ryan will have his way, especially with the way Julio Jones.
Yeah, I mean Julio's out of his mind right now
against us. He looks like he's the best receiver in the league right now. Number 5, I have my boy Carson climbing up the list. Like I said last week, I had him at number 9, and now he's up to 5. Chicago's defense, they didn't play horrible against Green Bay, but they didn't impress me. And I think Carson, they just want to pass the ball in Arizona, and they got running backs that can catch it. I know Ellington's going to be out, but you saw with David Johnson.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, David Johnson looked pretty good.
We mentioned about David Johnson a couple times now, and we didn't think it was going to be this soon.
Not at all.
That he'd already be,
He emerged and he said, "I'm here and I'm ready."
He had one play.
Yeah.
And he ended up with like 19 points in that one league.
Yeah, he's ready to steal a starting job. So him and Chris Johnson, even Chris Johnson looked pretty good. So I think they're okay with their running backs, and I think Carson will put up some good points against the Bears. Number 6, I know, I never thought I would say this, but I have to put Mariota at number 6.
Wow.
Only because he's playing Cleveland this week, and
that's fair.
He had a perfect passer rating last week against the Bucs. So until he shows me otherwise, I have to believe Mariota is at least a real deal against bad teams in the NFL. I don't think he'll do.
I'm not going to argue against him. I mean, yeah, it's higher than I obviously had him, but
yeah,
I'm not going to say it's
I'm not
far-fetched.
Perfect pass rater again, but I think he showed poise as a rookie in his first game, and I think he's only going to continue, success in the NFL. Number 7, I have Tannehill at Jacksonville. Like you said, Jacksonville not very good. I thought they'd be a better defense this year, and week 1 they did not show it against the Panthers. I thought that was an easy matchup for them, and they didn't do too well. So I think Tannehill could actually have a good game against them. Number 8, I have Eli at Atlanta. We saw what Bradford did against Atlanta in the second half. For some reason, I think Atlanta just came out in that first half like it was their Super Bowl. They were playing the preseason champion Eagles, and they weren't going to let us just be the favorites in their house. Because if you watch that game, they're flying around the field
and they really got gassed in the second half.
Yeah, they were breathing hard, and I feel like they kind of played over their head in that game.
Yeah,
I don't want to say they got lucky, but I don't see them doing the same exact thing this week. I think Eli will put up some good numbers on them. Number 9, I have Romo. I would have had Romo probably in the top 3 if it wasn't for Bryant going down this week.
Yeah,
I have to
that was
drop
tough.
him down. Terrence Williams, I mean, he's okay, but I don't expect him to be able to do the kind of damage that Bryant would. But he still has Witten, and the running backs look like they could catch some balls out of the backfield this last week. So I think Romo's still a top 10 quarterback. Number 10, I have Bradford. Had to drop him down. I mean, I know he's playing Dallas, but
you don't think he's going to come out fired up?
I don't know what to expect, honestly. I'm kind of scared. I don't know if the home.
I don't know, man. That second half was really impressive. I think it was like 21 of 25 or something like that.
Was clicking. He was on fire. But if you notice, a lot of his passes were to the flats, to the running.
Yeah, they were short, but
and there were yards after the catch.
Because that was their running game.
Right. Yeah, it was an extension of the running game. I think he could definitely have potential to go boom a lot higher than 10, but I'm gonna just leave him at 10 just to be safe this week because, like I said, he looked pretty bad in the first half. Number 11, I have Andrew Luck. Like again, not my top 10 Luck. And it's not that I don't like Andrew Luck. I love this dude. I think he's the best young quarterback in the NFL, top 2 quarterback this year. New York Jets, they're a real defense, and if I'm sure they're gonna follow.
I mean, if they can shut Johnny Manziel down, they can shut anybody down.
Right. I mean, the Jets front is good, and I think that they're going to follow the Bills' blueprint, and I think Luck will have a better game than last week, but I don't think he'll go nuts and have any kind of 25-point performance. Number 12, I had Rivers. I wasn't super high on Rivers this year, but he impressed me against the Lions last week. He didn't start off too hot, but he came back and he played pretty well. So against Cincinnati, tough defense.
Now the reason I'm is obviously because I didn't hear God's name in that list. Tom Brady.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Tom Brady is not a top 10 or 12 quarterback for me this week, and that's
You're
because,
insane.
like I said,
I know, of course, Buffalo
defense.
Buffalo
Bills. I feel like I sound like I'm from Buffalo, don't I?
You sound like you were born and raised in Buffalo and moved out to Arizona.
I don't know. I'm not hating on Brady. I love Brady. I feel like I agree with you. His anger towards Goodell is going to fuel him this year, and he did that against Pittsburgh. But this game, I think he comes back to earth a little bit. I've already read things about Buffalo triple team at Gronkowski. They're not going to let them get beat the way the Steelers did. The Steelers have a terrible secondary. And I think Buffalo is going to shut down Gronk to an extent, and they're going to force Edelman in the underneath routes. I think they have, Brady has an okay day. Nothing great.
Now, for sleepers and busts, I mean, when it comes to quarterbacks, it's really hard to be a sleeper and a bust because there's only X amount, and they're either playing or they're not. My sleeper of the week is actually coincides with what you said. I had Mariota.
Okay.
I don't have him in the top 12, but I could see him because, as you said, he is playing Cleveland. I could see him having another good game. It's just hard to predict, another 4-touchdown game out of a guy, a rookie. And my bust pick of the week is Eli Manning. I mean, he's playing Atlanta. It's not because of Atlanta fear, I'm scared of that. But if you mean Mariota, I mean, Eli just had in his last game against Cowboys, who aren't a great defense,
right? And
he had no touchdowns. And I think it was like he was like 20 or like 36. Like it's not. He didn't have a good game at all. So I don't see him having a better game. I mean, obviously, it'll be a little bit better, but I don't think he's startable this week.
Me having Eli at 8 is me is like my last faith in him. If he blows it this week,
he's out.
I think Eli
Then
owners
he's done.
have to scramble for the waiver wire. But I think luckily for them, I think there's some good quarterbacks out there. My bust, like I said earlier, was Brady. We don't have to get back into that. I just don't expect him to have a top 5 performance like people think he will. And my sleeper, I was going back between two guys. At first, I had Colin Kaepernick against the Pittsburgh Steelers, just because their secondary is nothing special.
No, I agree. I almost put that too. But
normally, I don't like Kaepernick. I don't like his style as much.
He didn't look bad. He didn't look bad at all on Monday.
Yeah, he didn't look too bad. I still he has a lot of weapons besides Carlos Hyde. But I'm actually not going to have him as my main sleeper. My main sleeper is going to be a guy that actually just got the nod today for the Houston Texans, Ryan Mallett.
Did he actually have the job good?
Yeah, he's actually starting. I think he should have been the starter from day one. I'm not a big Hoyer guy, and we all saw what Hopkins did last week. Mallett came in last week and immediately drove a touchdown down. I think him and Hopkins have chemistry.
Yeah.
And if you're a guy that has a quarterback right now that is struggling, or you need some solid backup, I would go to the waiver wire and pick up Ryan Mallett immediately.
Yeah, that's good. As long as he's a starting quarterback, because he's got a rocket up an arm and an offense that likes to throw the ball out. And he's going to have, in maybe 2 or 3 weeks, a really solid running back behind him. Anyone on the waiver wire that's worth going out and adding?
I actually, right now in my one league, this sounds crazy, I have 4 quarterbacks on my roster.
That is crazy, yes.
And mainly because I just kind of want to corner the quarterback position and hoping for a trade possibility. I know that's kind of
it never works.
I know. I picked up Alex Smith. I think he had a great week 1.
He did.
And I think he's not going to be a top 5 guy usually, but he's consistent. He's not going to throw picks.
And he plays the Raiders twice.
Right.
So there's always 2 opportunities to start him.
I like him this week against Denver because I think Denver has a good defense. But moving forward, I think he'll have good matchups. Could maybe slide him into a starting position if I don't like Carson's matchup. And then I also picked up Ryan Mallett. Like I said, just taking a pure flyer on the guy. I think he could either go boom or he could go bust. Either way, I'll keep him on my roster for a few weeks.
A guy I could see being useful, and it's mainly because he has legs and he's going to use them a lot, is Tyrod Taylor. I'm obviously not a fan of him as I wouldn't want him quarterbacking my team in real football or fantasy, but especially with young running quarterbacks, they have like 1 year where they could play really well. Newton did it, RG3 did it, Kaepernick did it. Eventually, people figure it out and they stop running and they're awful again. So, take a flyer on Tyrod Taylor. Yeah, if you're desperate.
He's not a bad play if you're looking for somebody on the waiver wire.
Yeah, running backs. We'll get the running backs level. We'll do 10 and 10 here. I'll start with my top 10. My number 1 this week. It kind of pains me because I was in a keeper league and I let him go because I didn't think he was going to be that good, but he had a great first week. It's Matt Forte. Oh. Matt Forte is my number 1 this week. He plays at home against Arizona. Like we said, we were talking about, will he catch as many balls? Yes. The answer is yes. He will catch just as many balls.
Looks like the new offensive coordinator just picked right up.
Yeah, just pick up. He must have found a playbook laying around from last year, just picked it up and said, why not? He did. So at Forte, number 1. Number 2, Adrian Peterson. Didn't have a great game week 1, but he comes home. Plays Detroit. Detroit's not the old Detroit running game of Sue and all that. So I expect Peterson eventually. He's got to be pissed still, right? He's got to have that fire to want to come out and show everybody, and he didn't do it week 1. Number 3, Marshawn Lynch. He's reliable. It doesn't really matter who he plays. He's playing Green Bay. Marshawn's going to get you something. My number 4, I have faith. DeMarco Murray. He only had 9 yards, which was awful, of course, but he had 2 touchdowns. He caught. I think he's going to catch more balls this year. As you saw, he caught 4 in the first game. If I'm not one of those guys who on pace for, but it would be like 40, 50 catches, which actually more than that. It'd be way more than that. It'd be like 50 plus catches, which is something he hasn't done before. Yeah, but I think he'll catch at least 3 a game. And he said, I like him to bounce back 9 yards. He was embarrassed. He's playing Dallas. Revenge. He's not playing. He's gonna want to shove it down the throat. Hopefully, Chip does too. My number 5, Jeremy Hill. He's at home against San Diego. He killed it week 1. Granted, it was Oakland, but he just seems rock solid. He seems like a guy you can bank on now. Clear cut, RB1. Number 6, Jamal Charles. He's at home against Denver. He was all right. I'm pretty sure he scored a touchdown. And Denver's tough, but like you said, running backs weren't that deep. A lot of tough matchups. And a lot of guys who we thought were good, who didn't have as great at week 1, and bouncing down the rankings. My number 7, Eddie Lacy. Lacy was fine. He was what he was. But again, he's playing Seattle, so I'm always a little nervous. We need to have that. My number 8, I have Lamar Miller. Big letdown, but I don't think it was his fault. I think he had like 4 carries in the first half. But he's playing Jacksonville. You got to bounce back from that. Number 9, guy who killed it week 1, Carlos Hyde. I didn't have my top 20 last week. I missed that one. Hyde plays Pittsburgh. We saw New England didn't run the ball great on them, but the running backs had good games. So, I mean, Deion Lewis, who, by the way, if you check us out on the site, was my sleeper of the week at running back. You're welcome. Hope you guys played that. I like Hyde to do something. I mean, he had 100-some yards last week or 2 nights ago. And my number 10, I have Justin Forsett. He is at Oakland, which enough said. We saw what Jeremy Hill did against them.
Yeah, Hill had a great game last week.
What do you got top 10?
My top 10, similar, a little different. Number 1, I have Lynch. I had Lynch pretty low last week just because of the matchup with St. Louis, and he kind of did what I expected him to. This week against Green Bay, I mean, Forte killed Green Bay last week. I think that's going to be their game plan, just pound Lynch all day. I think he should have a pretty good day. Number 2, Matt Forte. Wasn't high going in on him either this year. I didn't think he would be able to repeat what he did last season. And so far, he's proven me wrong. So against Arizona, I have to put him at number 2 based on what he did against Green Bay last week. Number 3, I have Eddie Lacy against Seattle. Again, Seattle's not scaring me as a defense. Cam Chancellor's not in there. And until he suits up, I'm not that scared of them. I think Eddie Lacy will get the ball a lot. I don't see why he won't be able to score a touchdown or 2. Number 4, also DeMarco Murray. I was scared to put him up this high. I don't know from last week what Chip's going to do. He seems.
I think granted, Chip is probably the last person to ever listen to anyone says, but the outcry of people saying, "Look, you got to give him the ball." I mean,
he needs to have the ball more than what you said 4 times.
No, he caught 4 balls, but he only ran for 9 yards.
For 9 yards on how many carries? Not many.
Yeah, it was less than 10.
He needs to get the ball. He needs to get into a rhythm. He's that kind of running back. He needs to just get the ball 20 times, 25 times. And I think against Dallas, he's out for blood.
The one thing I don't really understand, and it's kind of off topic, but it's in regards to the Eagles in general, is that the one praise on DeMarco is that he's a north-south one-cut kind of guy. That's not our offense, though. It's spread, shotgun, motion. That's not. I just don't. Is the fit gonna not work?
We'll see.
I mean, we're 0 for 1 so far. We've got 15 more shots to make it happen, but
yeah, we'll see what he does. We'll see what Chip does with Murray week 2. But I expect him to bounce back and have a pretty good game. He did score, and I think he'll get more.
He scored twice. That was good.
Number 5, I also have Jeremy Hill. Loved Hill going into this year. Loved him last week against Oakland. This week, little tougher matchup. As long as Bengals commit to him, he should have 100 yards and a touchdown. Number 6, my boy Forsett. Really killed me last week. I mean, he kind of got some garbage.
You're loyal, I'll give you that.
But I think this week against Oakland, there's no reason.
There's no reason there.
He shouldn't bounce back and have a big game. And if he doesn't, I'll start to worry. Number 7, Jamal Charles. Have him a little higher than I did last week. I mean, I'm not high on Charles this year, but he played good. And this week he's got Denver, which is a pretty fast defense. I think they'll try to contain him, but he'll do something similar than he did last week against Houston. Number 8, I have AP. AP just did not look good to me, and I don't know if it's the rust. I don't know if it was the matchup against San Francisco, but I'm just not willing.
That game was awful.
I'm not willing to put him high until he proves me wrong. Detroit has a strong front. They know AP. We'll see how he does against Detroit. This will be a good early test for him to see where he's at. Number 9, I have Mark Ingram. I liked Ingram this year going into it, but he showed me something last week when he caught about
he caught like 10 balls,
8 or 9 balls from Breeze, which in PPR is insane. So against Tampa,
he had a great game.
I have Breeze number 1, and I have I don't expect Mark Ingram to not put up a great game against Tampa Bay. I have him at 9. Number 10, my guy Chris Ivory. I mean, people were tweeting, people were laughing at me for drafting Chris Ivory,
and they
what
were.
Did he do? He ran for nearly 100, 2 touchdowns. I know it was against the Browns, but that's exactly why I had him ranked high last week.
I mean, you can't fault him. He played who he played, and he played well.
Yeah.
Should have started him, and everyone.
Yeah, no one that I know of had Chris Ivory except for me. But hey, he's playing Indianapolis this week, and I'm sure if you
so you're the guy who's like frustrating to play against in fantasy, because if I'm playing a guy who's starting Carson Palmer and Chris Ivory, I'm in my head. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, you're real hyped up, but hey, you never know.
And then they go out and put up 30 and 20. I'm like, you gotta be kidding
50
me.
points from Palmer and Ivory.
That's awful.
And he's playing Indianapolis this week. You've seen that they are a very weak defense. It's all Monday night. I think Indianapolis will play better, but I don't see why Chris Ivory won't get another 100 yards. I mean,
that's fair. And that was number 10 for you?
That was number 10.
My 11 through 20. My 11 is Mark Ingram. He had a great game. I don't obviously, I don't think the catches are going to, I don't know if they're going to keep getting 9, 10 catches a game, but like I said, he's playing Tampa. I'm assuming they're going to win. I'm really hoping they're going to win because I Breeze him number 1 quarterback. Hopefully it's a lot of Ingram down the stretch. My number 12, CJ Anderson, banged up, didn't have a great game at all, but I mean, he's still a top back, and for number, if he's number 12, means he's an RB2 on some teams. He's a pretty good, pretty damn good RB2. Number 13, Amir Abdullah. I have him at number 13. the guy's electric. I mean, it was his first touch. He went to the house.
He reminds me of Deshaun Jackson when Deshaun was a rookie. He just came in and just automatically he shows his athleticism.
He reminds you of Deshaun Jackson, a wide receiver.
The speed, the speed and the jukes. Have you seen the jukes he put on?
Yeah, he crossed somebody else. I forget who. I think it was Weddle. He just embarrassed him.
In the open field, he just runs.
And he plays Minnesota, who Carlos Hyde just ran all over. So I'm going to put some faith in Abdullah, a rookie. Number 14, LaShawn McCoy. He's playing New England. I don't like the matchup at all, but I think he'll bounce. I mean, he didn't have a good game last week, which I called. But I think he'll do something a little bit better this week. Number 15, Jonathan Stewart. He plays at home against Houston. Houston got lit up by the Chiefs. Although it was more through the air than the ground, but I expect Stewart to stay solid. He had an okay game. When he was having good carries and his average was good, but they just were for some reason not running, even though they're beating Jacksonville all game. Number 16 is your boy Chris Ivory. He's playing India. I think it's going to be a tougher task than Cleveland, obviously, but I still think he's a starting running back. And if you're top 20, you're starting. Number 17 might surprise you because he was probably unowned in most leagues. I have Danny Woodhead at number 17. The guy's back, and he's going to do what he always does. He's going to catch passes. He's going to run little delays and things like that, draw play, whatever. He's just going to keep doing what he's doing. He's playing Cincinnati. I mean, Rivers seems to like him. The Chargers seem to have faith in him. He gets a lot of plays, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, he looked good.
Number 18, Joseph Randall. He's playing the Eagles, obviously. I mean, the fact that he's playing against the Eagles and Murray, may he want to show Murray up. I don't know. That's what I'm hoping for. I mean, and the Eagles, like I said, they were going to be against Tevin Coleman, who had a pretty solid game, and I think Randall's better than Coleman. Number 19, Bishop Sankey. He's at Cleveland, and I think we can start doing the old, whoever's playing Cleveland, start the running back. Sankey had a great game.
Yeah, he looked good.
He actually had a really good game. It helps when you're up by 4 touchdowns in the first half. Yeah. Number 20, Doug Martin. He's playing against New Orleans. I don't have much to say about Doug Martin. I really don't have much to say about Doug Martin. I just think he'll continue to be solid. I think he had a solid week 1. What do you got, 11 through 20?
Similar. I mean, I have Lamar Miller at number 11 against Jacksonville. I loved Miller last week. Let me down. It was more the coaching staff not giving him the ball, like you said. I think this week he has to have a better game against Jacksonville. Otherwise, I don't know what they're doing in Miami. Number 12, I have Hyde. I had him in the top, my back 20 last week. I didn't see him going nuts like he did against Minnesota, but I don't know if that's real or not. I have to see it again against Pittsburgh before I keep ranking him in the top 10. So I'll have him at number 12. Number 13, I have McCoy. Wasn't high on him last week. I'm about the same this week. He's going against New England. I don't know what he's going to do. He might have a good game. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't, or I wouldn't be surprised if he gets injured either. Number 14, I have C.J. Anderson against KC. I mean, I like C.J. this year, but part of this ranking is based on Peyton Manning. I just don't think Peyton has it anymore. He just looks old, and when Peyton
but if he doesn't have it, hopefully they try to rely on the running game more. But
they just kept passing the ball.
So I don't know what was going on last week. Just both teams looked awful. Neither team could run. Neither team could pass. That was an ugly game to watch.
It was ugly, and they should pound CJ, but I don't know if they will. So I have to rank him.
Ronnie Hillman looked good, actually.
Yeah, I actually picked up Hillman in one of my leagues, just in case
that's scary.
Injury is.
I mean, I really don't, because I have CJ Anderson in one league, but then again, I do have Hillman in the same league. But I mean, when you invest in CJ Anderson, you don't want to have to rely on Hillman. You want to just
go down.
No. Yeah,
he was a top, second round, third round pick. Number 15, I have Alfred Morris. Not sexy, but consistent. I mean, he had a pretty good game last week. This week he's playing St. Louis, so I'm not high on his matchup, but he just continues to get points, and he just doesn't usually blow up, but he's not going to disappoint you and kill you. I think he has a solid game. Number 16, you mentioned him, Amir Abdullah. This week he's playing Minnesota. Hyde destroyed them. I don't know how much Amir is going to get the ball, splitting the carries with Joique Bell. But if you got to go with one of the running backs, I'm going with Amir just based off the pure explosiveness. And
he's definitely the home run threat as compared to Joique.
Yeah, big playability with Amir. Number 17, I have Tevin Coleman. I had a chance to draft either one of these guys, and I went with
Abdullah.
No, I mean Coleman and the other running back in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah, you got to go Coleman over Freeman.
Yeah, Freeman, I thought he was going to be the starter. That's why I drafted him, but Coleman looked 10 times better the other night against the Eagles, and I think Coleman's going to continue to steal carries and eventually win the job. New York Giants, not a great defense. I think he can have a good game. Number 18, I have Stewart. Again, I like Stewart this year. Another tough matchup for him, and based off what Carolina used him last week, I don't know they're thinking. So
it was a weird game
if they don't,
because they were winning the entire time.
He's clearly the best player on offense. I don't believe in Cam Newton at all. They need to get Stewart the ball. If they're going to beat Houston, he needs at least 25 runs. And if he can do that, I think he has a good game. I have him at 18. Number 19, Doug Martin. Like I said, I'm kind of on the same. I'm like, I don't know much about Doug Martin so far.
It's just
great.
The matchup's fine because New Orleans isn't a great defense.
Right. He should have a good game. That's why I had to put him in the top 20. There's no reason he shouldn't. If he doesn't, then I don't know.
Then it's time. We'll bump him off for good.
It's time for him to get the cut. Number 20, I'm glad you mentioned him, Danny Woodhead. I had to get him in there. I don't know how great he'll do. He had 2 touchdowns last week, I think.
Woodhead? I know he had at least one.
One, maybe 2. He's a PPR. He's great.
He's healthy.
A lot of passes. And the rookie over there, Gordon, fumbled the ball last week. So who knows how much faith they have in Gordon. I think Woodhead's to play, and he could be sneaky.
He's a starter guy this year.
Sneaky,
for this week.
Play.
Sleeper or bust? Who you got?
My sleeper, I have David Johnson. We mentioned him earlier. He's emerging a lot sooner than we thought. Ellington's out. I'm sure David Johnson might be available in a couple leagues. I mean, depends how deep your teams are. I'd definitely stash him on the bench and possibly play him if you need somebody in the flex.
Yeah. Bust?
Cowboys running backs. I'm not high.
Just the whole group. No, I mean, that's not that I like Randall. I mean, I have him at 18, so it's not like I love the guy.
See the thought process, him coming in, wants to outdo Murray, the rivalry. I just don't think the Cowboys running backs are going to be that great this week. I think the Eagles defense is going to step up, and they're going to shut them down.
My sleeper of the week, and this is assuming he played. He didn't play week 1, but from what I'm hearing is he's going to play this week, is Trey Mason for the Rams. He plays the Redskins, who apparently shut down Lamar Miller, but then again, they didn't really shut down Lamar Miller. They just wanted to get the carries. I still think Washington's awful. So I think if Mason plays, he'll be good. And my bust pick of the week is Alfred Morris. I know you had him in your top 10. I do respect St. Louis's defense a lot. And I just think they're gonna bottle him up. Actually, the 2 running backs playing each other here. Waivers, anybody you think they should get put a claim in on?
For the running back position, like I said, Hillman possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, just based on the CJ Anderson being injured and not who knows how severe it is, and then David Johnson if he's available, I'd stash him. Yeah,
I had David Johnson as one of my waiver pickups this week. Lance Dunbar from Dallas. I think he's going to be in that kind of like a Vereen type role, the Woodhead, where he's going to catch a lot of passes. I think he led the team in receiving last week. Carlos Williams from Buffalo. He scored a touchdown. He looked phenomenal in his limited carries. And I don't trust Shady really to hold up all year. And even if he does, I think Carlos could even take the goal line. Although they went to the goal line, they went to Booby Dixon or whatever. I hate that guy.
Yeah.
And then if you're really desperate, Duke Johnson from Cleveland. He had a couple carries, and it's not like Crowell is got a stranglehold on that starting job.
I'd hate to start any Cleveland back.
No, yeah, so would I, and I did. I
got to. I mean,
it was not a wise decision. But before we move to receivers and to start them, sit them, and everything else, waiver pickups, we're gonna take a quick break. I got word from the sponsors. They're buzzing my ear. They got to pay some bills. So we'll be right back. Again, stick with us. We'll be right back.
Had damage to your house? Avoid the hassle. Just call Castle Public Adjustment. Get the edge on your insurance coverage. 215-752-1237. That's 215-752-1237. Or check them out at castlepa.com. Don't settle for less. Get the maximum for your claim. Castle Public Adjustment. 215-752-1237.
Hey, yo, Cassie, what are you doing?
I got plumbing problems here. I can't get the water to go down the drain. What am I going to do?
Call Guaranteed Plumbing, 215-342-7200 for all your plumbing needs. Serving the Philadelphia area and the greater Delaware Valley.
What was that phone number again?
215-342-7200.
Oh, yeah, oh.
Uh, 267-563-2893. Give us a call with any questions you have. Or tweet us at Sports Goombah on Twitter. And there's before we get to receivers, speaking of Twitter, there's somebody out there not a fan.
Apparently not.
Not a fan. He's
I'm
ripping.
seeing what they're sending out, and why don't you read some of these tweets?
Yeah, so we'll kick it off right as the show began, and he got like 5 words into it. And he says that's what's going. He says this co-host is a joke. Tell him to win a fantasy league before trying to give out advice. Anyone can get lucky. Hashtag Gronk.
Wow.
Anytime you get hashtag Gronk, I'm always going to reference you.
He loves Gronk.
He's all so apparently you know him. This is at SMR
this
1087.
This guy right here, he's in my fantasy league. We've been playing fantasy for 10 years or so, and we're in 2 leagues this year.
Did he beat you? Or did you beat him? Is that why he's sour?
I mean, I've won a championship 2, 3, 4 years ago. He's won one more recently than me.
Mm-hmm.
We're always contenders, but I guess he's not a big fan of me this year.
No, he's not a fan. He said he asked me if I was listening to this, which of course I am. Actually, when speaking. He said, "Shut down Gronk, triple team." He said, "So how are they going to do that and leave someone wide open?" Wow.
Hey, I don't know what Buffalo's going to do, but this is all I'm reading is Buffalo does not want Gronk to rip them the way he did the Steelers.
I'm sure every team would not like Gronk to rip them, but it usually happens.
Maybe it's exaggeration, but I expect 2 guys on Gronk all game.
And the last week, he accepted a couple others. This is the last one I'll mention here. He said there's 4 quarterbacks on his roster. He's trying to trade me Bradford for Jamal Charles. Bro, really?
Yeah, I mean, hey,
you don't have to agree with him. What are you serious?
Well, we're in a keeper league. I always make it a point every year to try to get a future pick for the next year's draft. In the draft we had last Wednesday night, where I had to leave quickly for, I had an extra 4th and I had an extra 6th round pick through trades that I moved players when I wasn't doing too well last year.
Sam Bradford
so in the draft last Wednesday night, I went Ben and I went Bradford back to back. I think it was like maybe the 6, 7 or 7, 8 round. And I did that just because I'm high on Bradford this year, and I really want to use him as trade bait. And now he asked me who I liked because he wants Bradford. Hey, he has Jordan Matthews. He asked what I want. I said, hey, you got AP, you got Jamal Charles. That's who I want. Really? Yeah. Do I expect
that's not a bad keeper? Do
I expect him to give me them? Not really, but hey, you can't fault me for trying.
Some people could fault you for trying. I won't though. You're right. We'll get into receivers now. And by the way, you guys can always check us out, sgshow.net. There's a little tab up top. It says SG Fantasy Football Show. You ever want to follow the physical rankings, you can find them there. They're posted after the show. So we'll go through receivers now, and we'll go my top 10 first. My number 1, he's going to be number 1 until he gets hurt. That's Antonio Brown. I don't care about the matchup. I don't care about anything else. He's playing San Francisco. Always starting Antonio Brown. My number 2, Julio Jones. When we saw what he just did to the Eagles, I don't think the Giants are going to fare any better. So expect pretty much a repeat performance from Julio. Maybe not 10 catches and 2 touchdowns. Otherwise, he'd be number 1. But something similar. Number 3, Jordan Matthews.
Really?
I think it's getting to the point where he's really the only target. I mean, we all expected, at least I did. I'm assuming you did. We all expected Aguilar to have a bigger impact in that game. I think he had 1 catch.
I guess being a rookie, he's not ready. He doesn't know the plays. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, Jordan Matthews had 10 catches, and it's going to be more of the same.
Okay.
Especially, I mean, this is hopefully. I'm always doing PPR rankings. I don't know about you, but I'm always doing PPR.
Of course.
The only kind of league you should be playing in, and he's going to catch 10 passes again. Probably catch 10 passes almost every year.
Yeah.
For every game. I can see 100 catches minimum this year. Number 4, I have Calvin Johnson. He didn't have a great game, but he's playing Minnesota, who the defense just didn't look great. I think they need to make more of a point to get him the ball. It's getting pretty bad at this point. I think Calvin will bounce back. Number 5 is Odell Beckham Jr. Again, he was kind of bottled up last week. But I think I was winning this because Eli isn't very good, and they were winning most of the games. So they kind of tried to run it out. Obviously, didn't work out. So Odell's playing Atlanta. We just saw Matthews yet against him. I think Odell can do the same. My number 6, I have DeAndre Hopkins. I really wanted to put him higher. I want to put him over.
He's
Calvin
your man.
But yeah, I mean, I've been preaching this all year. DeAndre Hopkins.
Hey, he
had
showed up.
Had a monster game. And he's playing Carolina, not exactly the greatest defense in the league.
Yeah.
AJ Green, number 7, he's playing San Diego at home. Green was steady. He dropped a sure touchdown, which really hurt in the corner of the end zone. It was really, really hurt me actually inside. I don't think he's gonna do that again.
Hope not.
I think he'll score, and I think AJ's he'll be top 10, of course. Number 8, Demarius starting to slip down a little bit. I don't really think it's his fault.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not his fault that Peyton Manning may have lost his arm strength.
Exactly.
Like entirely. But I do think he'll still be a top 10 guy because he's really the number 1 option and the only real option at this point. More on that later. Number 9, Brandon Cooks. Didn't have the greatest first game as we expect him to kind of do a little better. But then again, like I mentioned last week,
I wasn't a fan of his matchup.
No,
you got
Peterson.
You got Pat Pete on you, you're not going to do well. But he does not have Pat Pete this week. He has the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he's going to do them. So I took big things. You could actually probably put him above Demaryius now and look at it.
Yeah.
My number 10, Alshon Jeffrey. He had a good game. He did play, which we were worried about. I do think Jeffrey's a top 10 play this week. He plays at home against Atlanta, so he is going to draw Pat Pete.
He is.
If he wasn't playing against Arizona, I probably would have had him higher.
Yeah.
When you play Pat Pete, you always move down a rank or two.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup. Number 1, I'm almost unanimous on Antonio, but but I'm actually not going to Antonio one. I'm going Julio, because from what Julio Jones showed me against the Eagles, I have to put him number 1 against the Giants secondary. I mean, he just looked like he wants to be the best receiver this year, and I think Matt Ryan's going to be looking for him all day. Number 2, Antonio. He would never drop farther than that. He's playing San Francisco. We'll see what he does. I think he'll get his, but I think Julio has a better week. Number 3, I have Odell Beckham Jr. against Atlanta. Like you said, Jordan Matthews had 10 catches. I don't see why Odell Beckham Jr. won't succeed that, or at least do the same thing. Number 4, I actually have Brandon Cooks.
That's
great matchup against Tampa Bay. Cooks had he's very quiet against Peterson. I think he breaks out this week and shows everyone why he was a top pick in the draft. Number 5, I have Jordan Matthews, a little bit lower than you, but still, he's playing Dallas. Jordan Matthews looked great last week.
He's easily Bradford's top target.
Yeah, he's
that's his first option every
And you know what I love about this kid? You've seen how hurt he was when they lost the game last week. He has passion. He wants to win. He's going to do whatever it takes.
People were like making fun of it. It's like because he's sad.
Hey,
I'd be sad if I lost that game because they had all the momentum and everything going for him.
Yeah, look at a guy like Jordan Matthews, and look at a guy like Maxwell who got lit up and then he's laughing about it after the game. I don't want to see that. I want to see a guy I'd rather have a guy crying than a guy laughing about it counting his money. Number 6, I have Calvin. Disappointment last week. I mean, I was high on Calvin this year. I actually got him back in my keeper league, and he just crapped the bed. And I hope he comes back against Minnesota. I'm going to start getting worried.
I think it's 100% Stafford's fault.
Yeah, Stafford did not look good. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's up with him.
I don't know what's going on. He's getting to the point where Stafford, I think, not even fantasy. I think in football.
Yeah,
he just can't start Stafford.
I think
he's not.
If he continues
he's gotten worse for like 4 straight years.
He has a great arm, but I don't know what he's thinking out there.
Look at the other guys we're naming: Julio and Antonio Brown and Jordan Matthews, and even Hopkins. Like when these quarterbacks drop back, that's who they're looking at.
Right.
Why doesn't that happen to Calvin?
He's not getting targets.
He's getting like 5 targets a game.
Yeah, I don't.
Did he sleep with Matthews or
at this point, I wouldn't be surprised because he's not looking at Calvin, and if he keeps doing it, I'm just going to have to keep dropping Calvin down.
Time where you just drop back and you threw it to Calvin. That's just what you did.
Yeah, he's basically the Randy Moss of our generation, with stronger. I mean, there's no reason why he shouldn't be getting 10 targets at least a game, and I hope it changes against Minnesota. Number 7, I have Hopkins. I loved Hopkins going this year. I didn't have him this high last week, but it was because of his matchup. I mean, and in the quarterback situation, apparently it doesn't matter. Hopkins is going to get targets, he's going to get catches, and he's going to score. So, I mean, I have him at number 7 against Carolina. I think he has another great game. Number 8, Keenan Allen went insane last week. I mean, 15 catches. He didn't score, but he had like 150-plus yards. Monster game.
I didn't have him in the top 20 last week. I was dead wrong on that.
I had him in the top 20, but I didn't have him too high, and I wasn't sure what he would do, and he just.
But I did say last week, I said I don't know what to make of the Chargers.
Right, and I don't.
Now I know what to make of them. Like Keenan Allen can catch a lot of passes.
Yeah, it seemed like a Carlos Hyde type of thing. I mean, is it a fluke? Is it going to continue? I don't know, but apparently he's Rivers' number 1 target, so I have to have him in the top 10 this week. Number 9, I have AJ Green. Like you said, he disappointed us. He dropped a touchdown pass. He was playing Oakland. I mean, he should have had a better game, but I think he bounces back a little bit this week.
Tyler Eifert took everything.
Yeah, he did. He stole the show. Number 10, I have Demaryius. Like I said, Demaryius is a great receiver. I would love to put him in the top 3, top 4 where he belongs, but with Peyton Manning's arm not looking great, matchup with KC, he's the number 1 receiver, so I expect him to get targets, but I don't think he's going to do anything too spectacular because Peyton can't throw the ball down the field.
Yeah, it's a shame, and that's the best option. That's his best. That's what he does best. My number 11, I have Randall Cobb. Normally I'd have him higher, but he's playing against
Sherman.
He's playing against Sherman. That's not an easy matchup. It may be a big actually day for Adams in hindsight. Now that he's usually getting the number 2 targets. My number 12, I have Julian Edelman. He's playing Buffalo, which I know you don't respect, but Edelman never goes farther than 8 yards anyway. So he'll catch 10 balls.
Yeah, I can see that.
Minimum. I said last week is he catch 8, and I was way under. My number 13, I think of he had a good game total, but helped because he had a return touchdown. But Jarvis Landry,
Mhm.
I expect him to really, I don't want to say bounce back because he didn't have a bad game, but I expect him to break out here against Jacksonville. Number 14, he didn't play. I'm pretty sure he didn't, but Mike Evans.
He did not play.
I don't think he played. I think he got rolled inactive at the last second. But another week of rest. New Orleans, spotty defense in a dome. And I think they're going to be losing, so I think they're going to be throwing the ball.
Right.
So I do like Mike Evans this week. Number 15, I have Keenan Allen. Just for everything you just said, he's a top target, and I think they're going to throw. I mean, granted, they were behind a lot of the game, which is why I think they threw additionally, which is why Stevie Johnson had a very good game. I would actually have him on my waiver pick. I feel like a lot of people too many people already owned him anyway. But number 16, I have Jeremy Maclin against Denver. Maclin really surprised me to get pretty sure he had a 100-yard game, and I can see him doing that a lot this year now.
Yeah.
He didn't break the streak yet. I'm pretty sure. I don't think it's all Kelsey, but I think Macklin's. I think he'll score. He's got to score this week. He's got to score eventually. My number 17, Steve Smith Sr. Again, I don't like the guy as a person. I don't like anything about him, but he's playing Oakland, and when you play Oakland, that's
good matchup.
Yeah, I put him in the top 20 then. Number 18, Devontae Adams. Didn't have a great game. He was the one who didn't score a touchdown, but he had a solid game for I think he had 5 catches, nothing spectacular. But he's playing against Seattle, but he's not covering Sherman, or he's not Sherman covering him. So
yep.
I think he'll be an option this week. Number 19, a guy I didn't like last week, and I'm pretty sure I was spot on with this. Andre Johnson. I do think he'll bounce back this week. With no T.Y. Hilton, I think somebody's going to have to catch the ball for Indy. I think Johnson will do it this week. Number 20, Terrence Williams against Philadelphia. He's taking Dez's spot.
Yeah.
I don't think Witten's going to be catching 10 balls a game, and I don't think Beasley and Escobar, all these other guys they have. I mean, somebody's got to be the top target, and they love to throw no matter what.
Yeah.
They're always going to throw, and we just saw what Julio did. Hopefully, Terrence Williams can do half of that. Even if he puts up half of those numbers,
right,
that would be 5 for 75 and a touchdown. I'll take that top 20 receiver.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
Number 11, I have Mike Evans. I think he's a great receiver as long as he's healthy. New Orleans, good matchup. I can see him coming in having a big game. Number 12, I had somebody you didn't have on your list, John Brown. I think Brown had a pretty good game last week. He's playing Chicago. I had to get that matchup. We got to get the Carson
I just
reference.
don't know what to think of. Obviously, I like Palmer enough to put him in the top 12, but I don't really know who is his target yet.
Yeah, I think John Brown is the deep threat guy, and he had a good game. So I think Brown is going to continue building, confidence with Palmer throwing the ball. I think he had a pretty good game this week in Chicago. Number 13, I had Brandon Marshall. I don't think I had Marshall in my top 20 last week. I can't remember. If it was low. But he showed me a lot. I mean, he's playing with the Jets quarterbacks, and he still got passes. The one play he had on the interception, he ripped that back.
Yeah, that was impressive.
He's playing like a man.
If only got points to that, it would have been.
That was worthy of 2 points. And he's playing like a man. I think he's going to have a good game against Indianapolis. Yeah. Number 14, I have Julian Edelman against Buffalo. At first, I had him at 14 because of the Buffalo matchup. Then I read the thing about Gronk getting doubled and tripled, and who knows? Maybe Edelman will just be wide open all day. And like you said, he's not going to
give him that 7 yards.
Yeah, maybe he's just going to end up having 15 catches because Brady just keeps dropping it to him. Yeah. So he could even be better than 14. Number 15, I have Randall Cobb, who I love normally, but he's playing Seattle. He's still semi-injured. He didn't take a hit on his shoulder last week, but he's one hit away from going out, I think. So I'm really scared, and I hope he can still get points against Sherman. Mm-hmm. Number 16, Landry. Like you said, he should have a big game this week. Didn't do too bad last week with the punt return.
Yeah, he's still that's the thing. If you're in a league that rewards return yards, like my league does, it's even an added bonus.
Yeah,
he's already good enough receiver as it is to be a starting receiver.
Right.
Now you throw him extra points for yardage and touchdowns.
Certain guys like that are definitely sneaky plays. Number 17, I have Sanders against KC. I think Peyton will find the ball. I find Sanders more than he finds Demarius. I mean, he's probably going to be looking to get the ball out quick, and Sanders usually is underneath. So I see Sanders having a good game against KC on Thursday. Number 18, I have Jeffrey. Only reason I have him this low is just because he's going against Peterson. I mean,
Peterson's up there with the Sherman.
Jeffrey had a great game last week. I wouldn't be surprised if he had another good game, but I mean, against Peterson, I got to keep him semi-low. Yeah. Number 19, I have Devontae Adams. Did not look good last week. I mean, he had about 50 yards, 4 targets.
Like 5 catches.
Yeah, nothing great. Nothing like the hype.
But all it takes is one touchdown to turn that 10-point game to a 16-point game.
Right, and I think this week with Sherman being on Cobb, I think Rodgers will look to Adams more. He's going to give him targets. James Jones showed up out of the rose from the dead and caught 2 touchdowns. But I don't believe in James Jones. He had 4 targets. He had 2 touchdowns. I think part of it was luck.
Yeah.
I think Adams is the guy getting more targets. So I would stay away from James Jones on the waiver wire and just ride out with Adams. I wouldn't worry about it.
I have no problem picking him up, but I definitely wouldn't just immediately insert him.
Yeah, I mean, pick him up, put him on the bench, but I'm not gonna
see if it continues.
I'm not gonna start him this week. I need to see it more. Number 20, you have Garcon. I'm not high on him. He's playing St. Louis. It's not a great matchup, but Deshaun's out. He's the only receiver that's gonna get targets, and he's been consistent. So if he's getting targets, I expect him to get points. I don't know how great it'll be this weekend in St. Louis, but I had to put him at 20 at least to get him in the list.
All right, sleeper plus waiver. You got anybody?
My sleeper this week is Dante Moncrief. Pick him up on the waiver wire this week.
I have him on my waiver pickup.
T.Y. Hilton is out. Moncrief I think he had like 8 targets or maybe more. It might have been 10 targets last week.
He scored.
He scored a touchdown. At least for this week. I don't know how long Hilton will be out. This week, I think Moncrief will benefit from being the second receiver.
It's a waiver pickup. It's a 1 week. That's all we're doing. It's week by week by week.
Right. Against the Jets this week. That brings my bust up in the same exact team, Andre Johnson. I think Revis on Johnson, that's not a good matchup for him. That's why I think Moncrief will get more targets, get more yards.
My sleeper pick of the week is a guy I picked up, actually. I drafted him in 1 league. I picked him up in my other 2. Brandon Coleman for New Orleans. He's playing Tampa. He scored a touchdown last week. 6'6".
He looked good.
He did look good. And like I said, I think Colson's time to go away.
Yeah, I never really was high on Colson his whole career.
His prime, but it's his prime long gone. I think he's going to be by the end of the year, he'll be the number 2 receiver, point wise and everything else.
Yeah, I think him and Cooks should definitely have a pretty big game this week.
So I do like Coleman. My bust pick, you notice I'd have him in the top 20, Emmanuel Sanders. On the opposite end, I just think Peyton Manning.
Peyton's scaring you.
He doesn't have enough to feed 2 quality receivers anymore. I'm going to obviously go with Demaryius as a guy to this week, but again, I mean, you could very well switch Sanders into Thomas' spot and put Thomas in the place.
Right. Who knows?
I think it's going to be it's a dangerous play at this point between the 2 of them.
Okay.
Obviously, I would still start them. I can just see them, being a bust.
Yeah.
Waiver pickups, I do have Dante Moncrief. I have the aforementioned Brandon Coleman, and a little outside the radar. Because obviously anybody can sit here and say pick up Terrence Williams and James Jones. Everybody knows that.
Right.
Rashad Green from the Jaguars. He had 8 catches last week. He's more like their Welker Edelman type, where he had 8 catches for 40 yards.
Is he a rookie? Was he the rookie?
He was a rookie out of Florida State. He did get hurt. So he left the game with an injury, but he had 8 catches for it was 40 yards. But hey, that's 12 points. If you sneak one of them in the end zone, it's a good point. I think just because it's the Jaguars and you never really know what to expect with the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Any one of those guys. Allen Robinson didn't do at all what we thought he was going to do. We were wrong with Allen Robinson last week.
Allen Robinson killed me last week. I hope it's just a 1 week thing, and I hope he bounces back in the future.
Now we got a couple. Before we go, got a couple start and sit them tweets. I'll read out what they said, and you can give me an answer. I answer as well back. One of the first ones we got from @BigSep87. He said, after last week's game, who do I start at flex? Melvin Gordon or Tevin Coleman?
I'd go Coleman.
I would also go Coleman because Coleman is the clear-cut number 1. Even if Freeman gets some carries, I think it's it's other than a spectrum with the Chargers. I think Woodhead, he might be number 1. He's still the number 1 fantasy guy there.
Right.
And Gordon's playing catch up there. We got a tweet here from @Stony096. He said, is it too early to panic for Lamar Miller? He said 53 yards and 1 catch against a lousy Washington defense. Not really starting with a question, but is it too early to panic on Lamar Miller?
It's way too early to panic on
I think I'd say, I think it's too early. He plays Jacksonville this week. If he has a similar game to last week, then
I'd be a little worried.
You can panic. I mean, if you can't do anything against Washington and Jacksonville in 2 weeks, then maybe it's time to worry. Half-point PPR league. First of all, what's your thoughts on half-point PPR?
I'll take it. I
prefer the full point. It's just easy to calculate in your head. Okay, you had 10 catches for 110 yards. Okay,
right.
You had 21 points.
I can understand why people don't like it, but I'll take it either way.
Yeah, half-point PPR is a better starting option at flex. Devontae Adams or Amir Abdullah.
Wow, that's a tough one.
First of all, if those are your flex options, if you got to bench one of those, you got a pretty solid team.
Yeah.
I'll go with Abdullah.
I'm guessing that's a 10-man, but
probably 8-man.
It's a tough one. I would probably go with
tough one.
I'd probably go with Adams, just because he's going to get targets. Yeah. Amir is more boom or bust.
I agree. Hey, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey, what's up?
I completely agree with that guy on Twitter earlier. I don't know where you find this guest host at, but he's off his rocker.
What am I off my rocker on? Just please let me know.
I mean, Carson Palmer had one good game, and he's in your top 5.
He was in my top 10 last week before he even started the game. I told you it was going to happen.
And you did say start Luck last week, but no, I mean, yeah, you had the balls to say it, but nobody in the right mind would sit Luck.
No, you can't.
At least in the ESPN league, he was 9th in mine, so he's still in the top 10 of my league.
That's fine. But honestly, if I had Carson and I have Luck last week, I'm starting Carson.
You can't do that.
Hey, I'm doing it. I'm 1-0 in all 3 of my leagues. So as crazy as it sounds, you got to make bold moves.
I want proof of this.
Hey,
that you're.
Hey, we can put it up on the screen.
Another question for you guys. Are you guys talking about David Johnson? Now, I actually had an opportunity to pick him up in my league, but he only had that one play at the end of the game last week.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Chris Johnson's going to be the starter this week.
Yeah, I wouldn't start David Johnson yet. I would definitely pick him up though because it's Chris Johnson. It's not like he's going to be some star player. I think he could very easily lose carries to Johnson.
After Ellington went down, David Johnson didn't even have a carry in that game.
No, I know. I said, but he touched the ball one time, and his one time was a touchdown. So he showed that when he gets the ball, he can make a play. That's what I said. I would not start David Johnson. I'm making that very clear. I would definitely add David Johnson.
I got a 2 flex league, so I'm my second flex. I started Anquan Bolden last week, which I'm not going to start this week.
Thank you.
And I have my second running back is C.J. Anderson. Obviously, he's starting. He's gonna be in my lineup, but I'm kind of don't know what to do with the second flex. I did pick up Chris Johnson, who I'm not going to start this week, but I have T.J. Yeldon on my bench. Who, I mean, he plays your G. I mean, I don't really like him starting him with Jacksonville, but he did have about 10 points.
And he's a starter, yeah.
So who are you debating between it in the second flex? It's Yeldon and who?
I have Yeldon, Chris Johnson, and Anquan Bolden pretty much my second flex.
I would go Yeldon.
I'd go Chris Johnson. He didn't look bad last week when he had opportunities, and I don't know. I mean, you don't got much options other than him.
He's playing Chicago, so hopefully they can get an early lead and maybe run the ball.
I just hope Johnson gets bulk of the carries, but I think he will. You said he's the starter. I agree with that.
I did also pick up. I want to see what he's going to do a little bit more. But do you think last week was a fluke for Percy Harvin?
No, I've heard. Matthew Berry's big on him, and I think he knows a thing or two about football. I actually
have him. I could slide into that second flex too.
I would put him. Man, that's tough. Yeah, again, he is a boomer bust type guy. He's playing New England, so I could see him going because I think they're going to get blown out. That's just I think New England's going to blow everybody out. So I could see Harvin getting some touches, and they're finding different ways to get him the ball. He's getting handoffs. He's getting passes. So I think I would even do that over C.J. Anderson. All right, C.J. Anderson. Wow, Chris Johnson. Wrong C.J. But I would go like probably Yeldon, Harvin, and then Johnson is my third option.
But if Anderson, because I also picked up Ronnie Hillman, but Anderson's playing.
That's a good handcuff.
Start Anderson over Hillman.
Oh yeah, of course. Until Hillman's or until Anderson's out entirely,
right,
or they say he's benched. Yeah,
but I think it was a good move.
It's definitely a good move.
And if Anderson doesn't play, do I start?
Oh, 100%. Oh yeah, if Anderson's out or if he's rolled out, 100%, you're starting Hillman.
Yeah, you just got to go with that offense and hope that he gets touches. And
because when he started, because he was the guy who got the job before Anderson last year for like 3 games, and he killed it for 3 games. Unfortunately, he got hurt, so he showed. It's not like he's some bum who you have no track record. He killed it for 3 starts or 2 starts, whatever it was. So I would definitely, if for whatever reason Anderson can't go.
That's why I picked him up because I think him get a little banged up. So
yeah, that's a good handcuff.
Okay.
But,
yeah.
I got anything else?
All right. That's all I want to know.
All right, man. Thanks for calling in.
All right. No problem.
Good luck. Man, see?
Man, these people tweeting, these people calling do not like me at all.
Hey, when you're starting or you're promoting starting Carson Palmer over Andrew Luck, people are going to be offended.
They did not like that apparently. I mean, hey, but this week I'm not starting Brady, so we'll see who doesn't like that.
Right here. I'm the first person that doesn't like that. That's all the time. Actually, a couple more tweets, but I don't want to run too long here. We all agreed on the Amir Abdullah. Other than that, actually, I'm just going to get out of here. I don't feel like digging too far with these tweets. Got some tweets off the week. I'm sorry. We'll always tweet you back on Twitter, but you can check us out again next week. We'll maybe have the same thing for week 3. It's the SG Fantasy Show. Pat?
Hey, Pat the Roo, I guess, right? Until next week.
Until next week. Good luck, guys.